One of the most common questions we got on the long distance walk from John O'Groats to Land's End is, what have you got in your packs? Today we're going to show you exactly what we carried at the start of the journey and give you some tips on what to carry on a long distance walk. Come on, let's open up these packs, take a look inside. Now the pack I chose to use was the Osprey Atmos. It's a 65 litre pack.
Mine is the Osprey Aura 65 litre pack. Mine's the ones for ladies.
So the packs are slightly different. If we turn them round, you see with the male pack, the straps go straight down the chest, and with the female pack, the straps are slightly different. So it's a good tip. If you're buying a pack, male or female, it does make a difference to the way the bags hang on over your shoulders.
I've got to get used to the cliff edges. And that wasn't a cliff.
Everything's a baptism of fire on this journey. These packs have pockets here on the hips. This is an AG, it's called an anti-gravity pack. But anyway, we're not doing the pack review now, we're looking at what's inside. But I just wanted to say we've got some pockets on the side of the straps here that we keep little bits and pieces in. Sometimes I'll put the phone in there. Things you might need to hand. A little bit of lip balm cream. Today I'm going to show you my pack. Michelle's pack is very similar, so it's the only difference is hers is an Aura 65 litre, mine is an Atmos from Osprey. You have this head unit here. The top, if I just unzip that, in here there is a rain cover which comes with the pack. By the time we packed it up, this lot came. And we also kept a poncho. I'll have a talk about that in a moment, but this was an invaluable piece of kit to take with you on the walk. Also some odds and sods, little bits, some plastic bags here to pop my boots into at night. If they were muddy, I'd put them outside the tent, but I'd put them in a plastic bag so I didn't wake up with snails and slugs in there. We have another zipped unit up here. In this I'll keep a wash bag, 2 of these charging blocks, which not everybody needs, but as we're YouTubers, we do need a lot of power. I also had a solar panel charger. This is a big blue 28 watt solar panel charger. This was great, but only when it was sunny. Once the sun went. So this panel here, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 solar panels. A little display here that tells you the charge is coming through and somewhere to store your devices whilst they're being charged. I thought this was a great product. I actually really recommend this. It managed to charge our phones and the charging blocks 2 at a time. There are 2 ports in here whilst we were walking, but it only worked when it was sunny. When the weather went bad, which is pretty much the second half of the walk, we barely got a charge out of this at all. So if you're getting sun, fantastic. If not, don't bother. It's not very heavy, it's about 500 grams, just a little bit over, so about a pound, pound and a half maybe. Great product. Now this was a later addition to our walk. We saw several people using them. They're just a little bit of foam to sit on the cold floor, and it made quite a difference. I really highly recommend this. They were barely a couple of pounds and a great little product. Shiny side down to reflect the cold, warm side up. Another power block. If you want really good power blocks, I'll leave some links down below because these were fantastic, both of these. Wet wipes, well, what can I say? This packet's nearly empty, but we always had a pack of wet wipes with us, and that was in the top box. These 2 carabiners, by the way, we used to actually fasten the solar panel onto my bag. So the solar panel itself sat over the back of the bag, and we fixed it with carabiners at the top and carabiners to the bottom. Okay, let's open the pack up. This was a medical bag. It had, so that's a bit grotty, sorry, but it had a few things in like ibuprofen, maybe a little paracetamol, some plasters. Not much, to be honest. A few band-aids and things to wrap round, some antiseptic cream, all in one bag. The next bag, this bag is light at the moment, but this is actually a little pack-away shopping bag, and this was generally full up of foods, quite often canned foods and dry food, and this would be quite a weight when we've been for a grocery shop. This could be anything up to maybe 2 to 3 kilos. At the moment it's just got a little bit of padding in there to volume it out. But this was a godsend, really. They packed away to almost nothing when we weren't using them, but when I went shopping, Michele and I both had one of these, and most of the walk, they had quite a bit of stuff in there, pasties, tin foods. We tended to use ready hydrated foods such as beans and things, because a lot of people say about taking dehydrated foods, but then you have to add water, and water's a big issue when you're walking. So in many ways it was better to have things that didn't need water added. Really overdone it. We've got, my pack is now about another foot taller. Got lots of stuff, about £40 worth of shopping. I just got carried away. I needed, I wanted us to have plenty. Michele's got water.
I just filled up all the waters full as well from this, Sandra, the lady who lives here.
Sandra, this lovely lady
yes.
here. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you. Okay, the next thing, pair of waterproof trousers. We got these later in the walk when the rains got really heavy, and to be honest, probably only wore them 2 or 3 times, but they were really a godsend when we needed them. So they go over the trousers. You just slip them right over the top, completely waterproof. These ones were by a company called Sprayway. Next, this is my cooking bag. In here, we've got a little gas stove, a windshield for the stove, a gas canister. I'm not going to get everything out. There's a simple little gas canister in here. And this is what we called the kitchen. It was everything we needed to cook food and heat up water. Then you add boiling water, about 300 mils of boiling water, and top it up with sardines. There you go. It may not be pretty, but it's good fuel for our walking this morning. Looks like wallpaper paste. It is the first time we've ever had smash. Not very heavy, probably about 1.5 kilos. This is another dry sack. We had quite a few of these Osprey dry sacks. This one's a 12-litre pack. It's empty at the moment. It's got a Rode microphone in there. But this pack was where I kept my camera gear. So the camera we're filming this on now, everything camera related went in this pack when I wasn't carrying it. It's like Christmas going in here. The next pack, this is my clothing pack. And this is all again we had. This one is a 6-litre dry sack. We took very few clothes with us. This is all the clothing that we had other than what I'm wearing right now. So let me quickly just talk about that. 2 pairs of trousers. These are quick drying, very lightweight trousers. They also had zip-off bottoms on them, so you could turn them into shorts. I had 2 of those. I also have 2 t-shirts, and in here I have a thermal base layer. So if things got really cold, it was made of merino wool, so it was nice and snug. Anything else, Michele, you can think of?
Socks and underwear.
Socks, but very few. A little bit of 2 pairs of underwear and 2 pairs of socks, and that's all we took with us, and it was perfectly good enough for the walk. I think at one time I had an extra t-shirt, maybe a 3rd t-shirt, but eventually we got rid of that as well. Okay. The next most important thing, this is a water bladder. It's dry at the moment because we've cleaned it out and got it ready for storage, but this would take 2 litres, so 2 kilos of water, and this was essential. This we had to keep filled all the time because when you're walking long distances you need a lot of water. So we had one of these in each of our bags, and we also carried a hip bottle on the side of the bag as well, so about 3 kilos of water, which would sort of fluctuate up and down during the day, but we were pretty much having to fill these up every single day, and that can be a bit of a pain. Which brings me round to this little beast that I actually bought on the walk. Many times we actually stopped and asked for water, and it was quite easy to do. On the canal sides you could get water fairly easily, but when you couldn't, this is I forget the name of this, I think it's a soya squeeze, and what you do is you basically fill this thing up with water from a stream or a river. There's a little filter unit that goes on the top of this, and then you do there's a little water in it as well, and then you squeeze it and it goes through the filter and makes the water reasonably safe to drink. At least we had no problems with it, as long as it was from fairly clean river sources or springs. So that was my water pack that Michele and I relied on for emergency water if we needed it and we couldn't get water from a tap or some sort of services. That we are going to use my Sawyer Squeeze water filtration. There is a nice little running stream here. Okay, we didn't film it because basically I got dunked in the water, got my feet all wet. So that pretty much is all that was in the bag, which is now a little bit wet. I had a woolen hat like this, a little thermal hat, which I pretty much lived in during the colder weather. It just kept my head warm. I haven't got it with me now, but I had a neck muff as well, which I wore not that often, but if we had to go in and out of shops, I could sort of pull that over my face. Now, in the bottom of the bag, Michele and I had slightly different items, so I'll explain what I had. This is our double sheet, basically a sleeping bag liner, and this is a double one. For Michele and I, we just like to have a double. It has more space to move around in it. It was far more comfortable than having the mummy type. I'm not a big fan on mummy sleeping bags. I don't like to be confined in a space, so this was a double.
Get up.
Hey, excuse me. Good morning. Good morning. My wife and I are being very respectful and very careful, and we're just trying to walk carefully and be respectful.
I'm trying to be respectful for you. If I was going to be shitting about this, I'd go and get my muck spreader and cover your tent with shit.
In Michele's bag, she would have had the double sleeping bag, and the one other thing that we had was a down blanket. So a compacted, fairly small down blanket that went over the top of us just to keep that extra layer of warmth. So sleeping bags, sleeping bag liner, and a down blanket. Actually, I will just show you, just come down here. Because there's two of us traveling, we could split the load up between the two of us. But here, in Michele's bag, bottom back, you can see we've got these inflatable air mattresses. They weren't very thick. They were perfect from keeping the cold from coming up from the ground and making us cold at night. And you can see in here as well, Michele's got the sleeping bag in here, whereas my pack contained our tent. Here you have it. This is the MSR. It's an Elixir 2 tent. It was really good. Oh, it's written on the bottom there, Elixir 2. This was a great tent, really quick to put up for us, lightweight. There is actually a better model which is even lighter. I think it's called the Hubba Hubba, but we were really pleased with this tent. It was perfect. Now there are some lightweight poles that come with this as well, which were in Michele's bag. So if there's two of you traveling, you can sort of split things up between the two packs. That is pretty much it. Food, a place to sleep, some simple clothing, and some extra stuff because we do YouTube that a lot of you may not have to carry. Of course, on top of that, I've got what I'm wearing here, which is another t-shirt, another pair of pants or trousers. These sandals, these were my preferred Keen hiking sandals. Later on, we actually got some Sprayway waterproof hiking boots as well, they were really good. There's another video I put up about the difference between sandals and boots. I'll put a link down below or somewhere so you can check that out. That was it. So apart from the actual fluctuation between different amounts of food we were carrying, we kept pretty simple things with us on the walk. Now there was one other thing that was essential for our travelling. Michele and I show you them now. What are they, Michele?
My fluffy duffy coat.
Yeah, this is our down jackets, and they were really good. In the cold weather, they packed up pretty small, you know, with a hood, and they were really incredibly good for cold weather. I'd highly recommend down jackets. The only thing is, when it rains, you can't wear these outside, but they do pack up incredibly small.
You used to stuff them in one of the side bits, didn't they?
Yeah, they would stuff to almost nothing in the side pockets, but they were fantastic. The other thing I mentioned, go on.
I just say they were also our pillow at night, stuffed into a sleeping bag.
They were, along with anything else that was sort of soft that we wanted to put in there to make a pillow. I mentioned at the beginning these ponchos. Now these are simple ponchos, very inexpensive. They had a hood on them. What they did do, which was quite good, on the side here, they unbuttoned, so they had little popper buttons. And what you could do, literally 30 seconds after that last film, it is chucking it down. But anyway, summer in Scotland, what can I say? I'll just do it carefully. This is a sort of fabric covered in a polyester of some sort, but you can turn this out into a big ground sheet. And we use these, not only you'll see them in our videos about the walk from John O'Groats to Land's End, but we use these as covers for laying down when we were stopped and we were having a picnic or something to eat.
Our bags used to sit on them at night and they went in the outside bit of the tent.
Yeah, we didn't actually unclip them that often because even folded up, they were a good size just to sort of lay down on the grass.
Because we had one each, so...
Yeah. These were cheap as chips, really. They came from a company, I'll forget, I'll put the link down below again, but they were inexpensive and they were a good investment. I'd say don't go for the really plasticky ones. These ones have got a little bit of fabric. Over the 3 months, they have got some sort of mildew markings on them because they were left on the grass outside the tent every single night in very wet and very damp conditions. But they kept our bags because on the two-man tent, you have vegetables on the outside, and that's where we kept our bags outside the tent. Obviously in the mornings you'd wake up with earwigs and bugs all over everything, but it was all good. Yeah. I will quickly mention also, these are the water bottles Michele and I took. They're fantastic, great water bottles. We've had these for years. Yes. That's Michelle's pink one. I've got a blue one, but it's up in the room somewhere. Also, the hiking sticks or the hiking poles that I mentioned. This is the hiking pole. Now, a lot of people we met on long distance hikes had very expensive hiking poles, £100 plus, so sort of, $100, $200, even more. These ones were about £6, maybe even less in the sale, but they're just a simple aluminium hiking pole, very lightweight, and we found them quite good, right?
I loved my pole once I got it.
Yeah.
It was great, even if you sort of stopped and the ground was really muddy, you'd stick it in the ground and you could lean your bag up against it, so that would save it laying on the floor. Or
these, sometimes we put our ponchos and sort of hang them to dry over there. But to be honest, the first quarter of the walk we didn't have sticks, and I didn't miss them at all. I know some people say also you shouldn't walk with just one pole, you should walk with two, but we didn't find that.
Sometimes I would be holding Stevens and I'd sort of end up using it for a little while, but I didn't like it. I liked the one pole and it worked for me.
We found it a lot nicer to have a hand-free. I don't know what the reasoning was behind it. Somebody said you should only use 2 poles. It means you're carrying 2 poles all the time. One was perfectly good. It's mainly just for sort of testing the ground ahead of you to see if you're going to sink up to your knees in it and to give yourself...
And for me, I liked it when I was going up the big steps and over big boulders because I'm really small, so it helped give me some extra leverage.
Yeah, and 2 wouldn't have really done that. We did try the theory. We'd sometimes both of us try and walk with 2, but it just felt laborious and slow. And as I say, cheap poles. These poles weren't expensive. Yeah. They've done, bit of grit in there. They were a few pounds at most, and they've done several hundred miles, and they're still as in good condition as when we bought them. Step up onto this if you can. This is where it's gone all a bit tricky now, where our hiking sticks are going to come across here onto this stone, okay? Mm-hmm. So, this whole central area here is bog, deep bog. And the gate that comes over just lands you in this sort of cowpat manure pile. So we're going to have to work our way over this old ancient wall here. One other thing, Michele, that we talked about was our down blanket.
Yes.
This was a bit of a godsend. This one is just called a Black 400. It actually will go down smaller than that, but this is got feather down in it. I don't know whether it's goose down or duck down, I really don't know. But this blanket, when the weather got cold and we laid this between our liner and our sleeping bag just to keep it in place, this was really good.
Yeah, it was great. It doesn't feel very thick.
No.
You think, oh, is it going to do anything? You give it a little shake out.
The feathers puff up, and that could make the difference between sleeping at sort of minus freezing temperatures and being comfortable and not being comfortable. One other trick and I can't really show you, but you know the revival blankets, the silver tinfoil things that they often put over athletes after they've been running? Somebody mentioned to us that the coldest you're going to get is from the cold from the ground coming up into your body. And somebody mentioned to us in a store that we were in, somewhere up near Inverness actually, so thank you very much, that if you put one of those between the ground and your tent, basically, that will silver side down, so it's reflecting the cold back into the ground. And that was a real pro tip, because that made a massive difference, didn't it?
We just left it because we had a base layer and then the tent, and we put it between those two, and then when we folded the tent up, we just left it in between all the time, and it was great.
We did try putting it inside the tent under the sleeping bag, but it slipped around all over the place, although it did work. And the other thing, some people talk about putting those over yourself to keep yourself warm if it gets really cold. It really works, but it's super wet. I mean, you wake up in the morning drenched, because I don't know the exact physics behind it, but basically all the moisture comes out of your body, sticks on the inside of this big silver foil thing, it gets drenched. So the best thing we found was to put it outside the tent, under the tent, between the floor, the lining, what do they call those? A ground sheet, like a little ground sheet. And yeah, that worked really well, and that's a few dollars. It makes a lot of difference. So here we are. We pinned out the base of the tent, and if Michelle's got the handy dandy, I might just, we're just right next to the canal, I might just show you how we put it up.
Though it may not agree with the path that you seek, sometimes you just need to stop searching and stand up and go. Just follow the road. Exist unexpressed, with no way to show it to you in the flesh. If you follow the road till it leads you back home, you'll find that the answer is yes.